Welcome all. We are just a few seconds late, but we are getting ready. I'm super excited for this event. It has been some few months to plan it. It is because of my IVLP program, International Visitor Leadership Program, that I did in collaboration with the US Embassy. And of course, now it's the time to give back to community and bring some knowledge from Washington, DC, Baltimore, from big companies and corporations. And I think we are ready to start. Timothy, the mic is yours. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you so much, Nasos, and apologies for the brief delay in joining. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. My name is Tim McNally, and I'm an economic officer here at the US Embassy in Athens. I've been working in Greece since August, and my pronouns are he, him. Before joining Embassy Athens, I served as the Global Policy Director for GLIFA, LGBTQIA+ Pride and Foreign Affairs Agencies, which is the State Department's employee resource group for LGBTQIA+ personnel and family members. I'm delighted to join you today for this discussion on making tech workplaces more diverse, inclusive, and equitable. Today's discussion aligns with our embassy's commitment to uphold and promote equality, justice, and freedom for every single person in the world. Advancing what we call DE&I, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, is a top US government policy priority. On his first day in office, President Biden signed an executive order on advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities throughout the federal government. And President Biden followed that up in June 2021 by issuing another executive order on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal workforce. These executive orders established a mandate for the US federal government to remove barriers to equal opportunity. As a government, we seek to recruit, hire, develop, promote, and especially retain a workforce that reflects the full diversity of the American people and treats all employees with dignity and respect. This is especially true because evidence demonstrates that diverse, equitable, inclusive, and accessible workplaces result in higher performing organizations. So how are we doing this? Well, to promote DE&I principles internally, the US government and the State Department have set measurable goals for recruiting and retaining a diverse workforce and for promoting greater inclusivity for women, employees with disabilities, LGBTQIA+ employees, and religious, racial, and ethnic minorities. Here in Greece, at the US Embassy in Athens, we're very proud to work with local civil society, the Greek government, and other diplomatic missions to promote DE&I across the board. However, while working toward larger systemic transformation, we can and all should start with small everyday changes. In a 2021 Deloitte survey of 400 senior tech leaders in the United States, 75% of leaders surveyed said that while their organization had an authentic commitment to DE&I, women and minority workers made up only a quarter or less of leadership teams. This is far from representative of the working population as a whole. Deloitte's study found that although many leaders pledged to recruit a wider range of people into technology fields, many companies hadn't been able to recruit talent that more closely resembles a broader multidimensional workforce. And even if an organization successfully recruited diverse employees, Deloitte found that leaders paid too little attention to professional development as a person-to-person endeavor once these employees came to work. This shows that advancing DE&I requires more than successful recruitment. You need to create an overall inclusive work environment to retain the employees that you've recruited. And one way to do this is by creating an entire culture of inclusivity. Deloitte defines inclusive workplaces as those that support the diversity of thinking that arises when companies hire employees with diverse backgrounds, experiences, and ideas. These workplaces might look different from traditional workplaces, and a defining feature is that they seek to eliminate many of the obstacles that lead women and members of underrepresented groups to change companies or to leave the workforce entirely. Creating inclusive environments in tech will require leaders to make room for new ways of thinking, collaborating, leading, and networking. To help level the playing field, tech leaders such as yourselves can proactively identify and develop high-performing candidates with diverse backgrounds by giving them access to formal career and professional development programs, which will enable them to develop new networks, find mentors, design their career paths, and gain professional and leadership skills. This also might mean investments in creating better metrics to understand how you're doing on meeting DEIA goals within your workforce, and hiring candidates with leadership skill sets that may not be technology specific. For example, hiring people from diverse backgrounds with skills from finance, sales and marketing, or project management. And it also requires you to enlist everyone in your organization in these initiatives. Offering inclusion training for employees at all levels can provide them with the information and tools they need to become valuable supporters of diversity. You might be asking yourself, why should I do this? Why should I invest valuable resources and employee time and effort and financial resources toward these goals? First, I and the US government believe that it's the right thing to do morally. And second, promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion is good for your organization's bottom line as well. Deloitte studies have found that organizations with inclusive cultures are twice as likely to meet or exceed financial targets as those without, 3 times as likely to be high performing, 6 times more likely to be innovative and agile, and 8 times more likely to achieve better business outcomes. This type of research has been repeated by McKinsey, Goldman Sachs, and many other leading financial and consulting firms in the United States. Diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility are good for the bottom line as much as they are morally the right thing to do. Now that the business case for DEIA is clear, I look forward to today's discussions on the practical steps we can all take to build more inclusive workplaces in the tech industry. Thank you so much to Nasos for inviting me here, and I look forward to sharing the rest of the event with you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. We are having some troubles with the Zoom because I'm trying to get inside Mr. Dritsas from the ministry and the Elevate Greece. I think we will do it eventually, but not spend sometimes we'll do it as we can. I would like to introduce you, Mr. Adam Phillips, the Managing Director of Techstars. Guts Ozensi from Founder Institute, the Managing Director, and friend also Kuzehan Ozdemir from Founder Institute, Lean Startup Mentor. And I think we have, what I tried with this panel is to bring some knowledge from the United States, from big organizations to Greece. So welcome and thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you, Nasos. Thank you, Nasos. Thanks for inviting us here.
Thank you. So I try to make it as much interactive as possible. So I talked to Adam to tell us about Techstars and what's happening there. And it's a spoiler because we have put it in every content online. Techstars in your city is called Equitech.
That's right. Yeah. So thanks, everybody. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate the chance to get to talk to everybody. Nasos, I appreciate the invitation. And I'm very excited to have the conversation today. I think, such an important topic. It's and just to echo what Timothy was saying, it's not only sort of a, you can talk about it as a moral issue, but it's also a bottom line issue, which we are proving out here, I think, in Baltimore in a way that's hopefully going to echo across the world. So this is part of that. So a couple different things. Techstars, I'm with Techstars. Techstars is, we call ourselves the world's largest pre-seed accelerator. I'm hoping that we're not beat by anybody else. I don't think we are. But we're very excited about the work at Techstars. We love early ideas. We love founders early. We love to be invested before anybody else, and we love to invest alongside founders. So to me, it's the best part of the business. I know that investing is fun all up and down the stack, but I love the early stuff because you really get to know founders, you get to know their dreams, you get to see them pivot because pivots always happen no matter what. And at Techstars, we get to invest at that point. So that's also fun. You get to ride the whole roller coaster, which is great. I like roller coasters. So in Baltimore, what we're doing, we're working with a partner here in Baltimore, also called Upsurge Baltimore. We're in our second class of accelerators here, and Upsurge came up with the idea of Equitech. Actually, we're in the world's first Equitech city is Baltimore. And Equitech, basically, the concept is innovation that benefits everybody. So why not have a city where, as you build, as you add to the workforce, as you bring in companies, as you invest in companies, innovation benefits everybody that is a part of the city. So that just makes total sense to me, and made total sense to Techstars as well, as we thought. We already invest disproportionately to other VC investors in women and minority founders, and why not pair up with an organization that's trying to do that here in Baltimore? So the work of Equitech is really about finding opportunities, whether it be because of who the founder is or because of the kind of opportunity that they're offering. It's still a growth opportunity. It's still it's tech or tech adjacent typically. So we don't fill all of the roles of funding, but we're looking for growth opportunities that are also Equitech opportunities. So they're bringing innovation to the city and also to the marketplace that benefits everybody. So that's sort of a first cut of what we're doing here.
Well, perfect. We have Mr. Dritsas. He's about to be promoted as panelist, but we also have Elis Anastasi from Elevate Greece. We had some difficulties to go live, but I think the Elevate Greece is going to be the next big thing in Greece, I hope. Eli, can you join us?
Yes, I'm here.
So I'm trying to promote Mr. Dritsas. I don't know if you are in the same office.
We are at the same office, but I don't know what has happened.
Yeah, there is a ping that he has to accept that he's going to be panelist. I think it would be better if we do it online, but we had to bring so much people from the States and abroad to join.
Okay, let somebody else talk and I will fix it.
Of course. So let's go to Founder Institute and Goods. Founder Institute, it's a big organization too. What's happening there?
Great, thanks Nasos, thanks for inviting us here today, and great to meet you all. So I'm leading the chapter here in Washington, D.C. region. When we say Washington, D.C., it's the DMV region, of course, right? D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. So great to see Adam representing Techstars here. So we are also a huge network of mentors and a great program for the pre-seed stage startups. So we're basically focusing just on pre-seed. So I want to share some slides to tell you about about some numbers about the DE&I topic that we're going to be discussing today. So it's easy to tell you about the Founder Institute, but I'm not going to be telling much about it today. So other than we're present in more than 90 countries, and we have more than 5,000 alumni around the world. So we're basically run by local leaders like myself, who are basically volunteers. So it's kind of a different network. It's we have more than 25,000 mentors all around the world. Again, just focusing on pre-seed stage startups. I am coming from the tech space. I was with HP and Cisco for about 15 years, then turned entrepreneur. It was a great journey. So I understand the founders' problems and the journey that they're going through. I exited 2 years ago and also been investing to, again, pre-seed stage startups for a while, and personally focusing on, again, the pre-seed stage startups on immigrants in this region. So let me share my screen and share a couple of metrics. Okay.
Yes.
Is that okay?
fine.
Okay, you're
Yes.
seeing that. Okay. So we just believe as Founder Institute. Let me. Okay, hold on. So I think this is going to be, yes, this is better. I said this,
Yes,
right?
better. Yes.
Okay, all right. So we believe that the founders, entrepreneurs, going to change the world in a better sense. Okay, because many things are broken, as one of the most critical topics that we're going to be discussing today, right? And the metrics are really, really interesting here. If I can switch the, hold on. Why can't I switch to the other slide? All right, interesting. Okay, so let me go share this like this, because otherwise I suppose I cannot. Can you see it okay, right, like this?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right. I don't know why it doesn't work, but let me tell you how we work. So we basically recruit most promising founders and give them a lifetime support when they become an alumni, of course. So it's a really intense program for 4 months, and when they graduate, when they qualify to become an alumni, the most strongest ones qualify to become alumni, of course. It's usually 30%, maybe 40% of them. The rest drops out. Then we provide lifetime support. So connecting this to the today's topic, there are actually 9 diversity dimensions of that we need to be focusing. Okay, it's not only race, from age to class to ethnicity, race, nationality, gender, as you see over here. Okay, and Black injustice needs special focus. That's on one side. But when you look at the whole world and what we need to focus, it's not just one thing. Okay, and we need a systemic structure to really solve all these problems. And when you look at the metrics, this is one of the tech companies, one of the most aware tech companies, right? Google's workforce representation in 2020. It shows the metrics here. Okay, so the white percentage is so high, and when you look at the leadership numbers, they're even more interesting. It's like 64%. It's more flashing. And accessibility is, I think, the most critical thing. So the speaker right before me was telling us about the accessibility. I think that's the most critical thing. And the solution is to create pathways to education and equal opportunity. And there are many other metrics that we can talk about, of course. The Danny Warshay's book, he's a professor at Brown University. He says teams whose members come from different backgrounds perform better. That's true. That makes sense. And you can find many other readings about that. If you look at Hamdi Ulukaya, the CEO of Kobani Group, he says refugee performance is huge. They are motivated and they are loyal. That's also true, but provided that there is inclusivity. Okay, it's not just diversity, because we all are motivated or unconsciously biased to be with people like us. Okay, so creating homogeneous teams, creating friends like us. Okay, so there needs to be a push to create diverse teams and include them, because if you create a diverse team without inclusivity, actually, interestingly, the performance goes really bad. Actually worse than homogeneous teams, right? So this is why we need to bring these targets, push targets, KPIs, and it's not only about bringing chief officers responsible of inclusivity or equity, diversity. so whatever the name is. So of course, those institutions, policymakers, nonprofits, all those institutions and community builders should be bringing all these ideas and working together and collaborating together to make world a better place and more inclusive and create diverse teams. So so then we can actually perform better in the world. It shouldn't be just about profits, of course, right? And the other thing, personally, I am really focusing mostly on is the immigrant diversity. We can call it immigrant adversity as well, because there's this adversity muscle in all of those communities that when you look at it. So there are 582 American unicorns today in 2022, actually, last year. So 64% of them were founded or co-founded by immigrants. That's really interesting. That's why we call, or the readings call it adversity muscle. So the most promising founders or employees, whoever is critical for those organizations, are actually they have the adversity muscle, so they thrive, right? Refugees fall into that category, Blacks fall into that category. All those 9 pillars, 9 dimensions that we talked about, that they need to be focused very carefully. When you look at the FI numbers here in this region specifically, I'm not talking about the world, the Washington, D.C. region, the alumni, it's like 50-50, okay? There's great diversity. And actually, this year's cohort, if you look at it, it's even much better. I hope keeps on growing. There is 72% diversity in the founder registration right now that we're the cohort that we're running. So we can always break this into the different groups, minorities, women, Blacks, Asians. But this really proves a good point here, and that could potentially be because of the special situation of Washington D.C. region. It has almost 23% foreign-born population in this region compared to the nationwide average. It's pretty high, and yeah. So there's one last thing that I want to say. Of course, great companies start with great people, not the ideas. That's one thing. But the thing to focus is they're not built alone. So when I say they're not built alone, well, from the Founder Institute perspective, yes, we bring in the 25,000 mentors all around the world. That's one thing. But actually, personally, when I look at it, being another immigrant here in the US, I think the most critical thing is the support network. Okay, so because all those different, when you look at those different dimensions, we need to create a very strong support network for all those different people. When I look at the immigrants, there are also different fractions. Okay, and the strongest ones are, as we see, the Asians, like Indians, Chinese. Their networks are pretty strong. So the others, when you look at even less strong networked minorities, I think creating those and supporting those organizations to help them, and while getting the support of policymakers and organizations to create a more inclusive and more, let me stop sharing here, and more equal space in tech and the whole world. I think that will carry us to the next level, to a better level. Thank you.
Perfect. Good. Thank you. We'll come back to you. Mr. Dritsas, I don't know if you are with us. We are talking about strong networks, and of course, Elevate Greece is about networking. what's the new of Elevate Greece. And recently I heard Mr. Dimas that is telling us that only 20% of founders in Greece are women. So what's the plan for Elevate Greece to make things more inclusive and diverse?
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Hi, Nasos. Thank you very much for the great opportunity to share some thoughts and have a discussion with all these very important ladies and gentlemen in the panel. Elevate Greece is an initiative of the Greek government trying to foster and nurture the Greek startup ecosystem. The first thing that we did is that we tried to map the ecosystem. And of course, this is an ongoing process. We started 2 years ago, and now we have started as a Société Anonyme, a new enterprise here in Greece, in order to focus on this ecosystem that we mapped in the previous 2 years and support them in a more efficient way. So far, we have started the mapping process. In terms of the issues that we are discussing today, the only metric that we still have is about the representation of the women. There is a gender imbalance here in Greece. We have, as you mentioned, 20% women founders and 80% men. I don't know how much is the difference with other startup ecosystems, but definitely this is a key issue for us here in Greece, because if we look at the STEM education, we can see that the diversity is not that high. I would say women are represented very, very well, and in the academy, but also in the STEM studies as well. But in business, we need to encourage them and to empower them. So this is the plan for the next years. We have a special unit in the Ministry of Development and Investment, which will have these objectives for the next years, and hope to see these numbers to be improved. I'm looking forward to watching and listening to your presentations. Having seen the very first one, I would say that it's very, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to listen to all of you. This is Diakanastasi, is also a member of the new board of directors. Eli, would you like to say, to salute the people here? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teritos. Eli, hello.
Hi, I'm sorry, too many tabs. Thank you for inviting us. Elevate Greece is trying to change this gender diversity, so here I am. Mara Dukidi, who is ex-colleague at ASIN, has seen already the difference, because ASIN used to be, I think only 90% there were women working. Now this has started to change. If we are talking about diversity, because Mr. Vritzas said about sex only, not generally, I think this is not something we see in Greece, but it's a global phenomenon. Entrepreneurs mostly are men, and even in big corporates, that men take 3 times up the same salary, the salary that a woman. But I think this started to change a lot. In Greece, I don't think we have still worked on diversity about races and the LGBTQI community, but even there, the first steps have been done, and it takes time, maybe a decade, but we had to take the first step. So.
Well, yes, exactly. This is why we do believe, and all of these people join us, because I think the tech industry will be the first to be more inclusive from the society, and the society will follow perhaps the next few years. Ali, thank you so much. Kuzehan, hi. Thank you so much for being here. I know that you do a lot of mentoring inside the universities, but you are also a Turkish immigrant. Tell us who you are and your journey. Would love to hear from you.
Nasos, thank you very much. And I also will ask you to give me the permission to share my slides. But before moving on, actually, I really would like to thank you and all organizers, supporters of this event, to give me this opportunity to talk in front of such a large Greek audience. So it is morning in Washington, D.C., as you see behind me. It is the picture of DC, and I would like to say Kalispera to all of you. And of course, we are here, two Turkish people. So we are talking about inclusion. So I really feel included. So we have, different people. Adam is here, and also others. I think we also represent a diverse panel here. And also you gave me, time to speak here, a seat on the table, so to say. So I feel that you also consider equity. So I would like to thank you. And I think it's meaning, it's not only the words or, the fancy words, but how it is important. And thank you for showing it. I will tell about myself. I moved DC nearly 6 years ago because my wife was working for an international organization. And before I moved here, I was working with a technology transfer office in a university. So I was working with lots of researchers, academicians, students who would like to launch their startups. And I was helping them. And after I moved here and I was going to a transition, I will talk about it. Living in DC and then working, and of course I found myself again, of course, working with entrepreneurs, and I think it's a journey. I will now share if you give me, okay. Can you share it?
Yes.
Can you see it? Okay. So today I will talk about, of course, DEI culture, but of course, in my context, I will talk about Washington, D.C. and also startup ecosystem. And actually, of course, because I am also mentoring the startup founders, we are always asking them questions, okay? And first of all, know your customer and know your target audience. So these are my assumptions. So we start with the assumptions, as most of you know. So I assume that, the participants, most of them are not US residents, but they're entrepreneurs. They may think about launching a startup in USA. They can consider Washington, D.C. to settle down, and they want to be part of DC's entrepreneurial community. And I would like to ask the audience if they can just write in the chat if all of them, represent them, or some of them. Please write down all or some, so we can understand if we are in the right direction. So of course, we start with some questions when we are going to our customer discovery and all those things. So, but of course, the most important thing for you to ask yourself is this: who are you? I think this is the most important thing when you're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. You need to know about yourself. So what you need to know, of course, where are you from? What's your race? What's your gender identity? What's your skin color, age? Are you a neurodiverse person? Do you have a disability? And when you see these questions, some of you may think, okay, we know this kind of questions, so why are you putting here? So I will give you one example. I have never thought about my skin's color before I moved to United States. I have never thought about I am a white or some, some other color. And in Turkish, we are, the color of my skin is like, they call me wheat color. It's the color of wheat. So I think these are very important things that you need to know. All of them, and some of them are not changed. You are these people. But the most important thing also comes to your mindset. What is your thought process? What are your beliefs? Which kind of prejudices do you have? What are your experiences? And what are your memories? And when I talk about memories, it is not only your memories of childhood or teenager years or adulthood, but it's also memories of your parents, good or bad memories, which affect yourself, affect your way of thinking, attending, looking at other people. So I think these are very important questions. Of course, for all of us entrepreneurs, what's our purpose? What are we doing? And why are we doing all those things? I think first of the things that you need to know yourself, if you want to come to a new country, and if you don't ask this question yourself, because it is okay, I know a bit. When you come to a country that you don't know anybody and nobody knows you, and you will start to ask these questions to yourself. So it will take a bit of time. So the second question, of course, the understanding where we are. So for example, we are talking about Washington, D.C. So where is this place? So let's move on. So it is over ocean for you, for most of you, coming from Athens to Washington, D.C. And of course, you see the White House here. It is in the east side of United States. So let's dig in. When you're talking about Washington, D.C., it is a place, and it's called the District of Columbia. It's the D.C. stands for. It's in between of Maryland and Virginia. So you are in between two states. And of course, the greater Washington is just some parts of Maryland and Virginia. And actually, I am living just corner here, somewhere here in Maryland, but I consider myself living in DC. So you see here the states. And the other one, of course, when you come here, so I am sure most of you know about White House. So when you come to DC, and you will surely come to White House, and of course, when you are in White House, when you look back, and you will see the picture behind of me. It's called the mall. But you are alone, and you don't know, if you don't know anybody, so you are considering, you need to orient yourself. One of the things that when I came here in DC is my orientation. Even knowing where to shop, which market you will go is an issue. Okay, so we are in Washington D.C. area. So it is a really a multicultural, international community here. Around 14% of DC population is born in another country. Of course, it is the capital of United States. So there are embassies from all around the world. There are 400 international organizations, including World Bank, IMF, IFC, and others. And there are international companies. So it is a community of, every kind of people. And the other one, it is one of the most educated metropolitan area in the United States. More than 50% of people have bachelor's degree or more. So for tech talent, of course, there are top-notch universities like American University, Georgetown, George Washington, George Mason, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, and others. So it's very important. And of course, the region has the 4th largest tech talent labor in North America. So, and of course, the tech workforce, we have women here. So we have every kind of people, and it is really an international community. So another question, okay, so you're thinking, of course, okay, I want to launch my startup in USA and and DC. So what you need to do? So some recommendations. First, before you coming here, just look at the events or organizations that you can just get exposure to the DC startup community. I'm sure Nasos can share his experience, and this is one of the reasons that we are here. He came here with a program by Department of State of United States. So you can join.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the questions that I have, and I'd like to include Adam in this, is that we are talking about a really small piece of land in the States, and of course the known regions for entrepreneurship are Texas, of course Silicon Valley, Los Angeles, New York is a huge ecosystem. But why we are reading about Washington, D.C. and the greater area is such a thriving ecosystem? And what is a question that we have is that as an ecosystem, Greece is so small, so we try to compete all the big ecosystems. So what we can learn from your ecosystem, Adam?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think for DC, and that was such a good overview of some of the strengths for DC. What we do really well, I think, is play to our strengths. So what are the things that we already have? We do have a very educated population. There is latent capital here because there are some folks who have been in the same job for 30, 40 years with the government, and we're able to sort of build up a good nest egg. And so angel investors, we have angel investors. What also do we have here? Our university systems bring things like hospital networks, like Howard and Johns Hopkins have great hospital networks. So health tech is great for us. Fed tech, so government tech. I mean, obviously the biggest employer around here is the federal government. So, and you can sell, the federal government buys a lot of stuff. It buys and sells a lot of stuff. So selling into the government, Fed tech is important as well. Law tech, legal tech, tons of lawyers around here. So really, I would say the thing that DC, I think, is starting to really do well is play to our strengths and not try to be Silicon Valley because we're not try to be New York because we're not try to be Atlanta because we're not, we're DC, we're the DMV. And there's a ton to love about this area and a ton to really capitalize on. So I would say the same would be similar for Greece. What is it that Greece has that others don't? And what are the concentrations that you can capitalize on? Because that's really, I think, where you start to get the benefit of scale when it comes to bringing, talent and capital to bear.
Thank you so much. Good. Same, more or less, I would like to ask about how the immigrants can help to the ecosystem. Do you have new ideas, different ideas, and what's your journey so far?
Yeah, thank you, Nasos. I totally agree with Adam. So this is a great ecosystem, and Kuzeyhan as well. He gave the metrics. It's such a highly educated region in the whole US. I mean, if you look at the US, it's definitely a great, huge country, right? 330 million living in the country, and huge income to be spent, right? Disposable income is actually even much higher especially after the pandemic. But here it's somehow different because where we live, as I have shown the metrics, the foreign-born population is much higher than when you look at the national average. And the education level is extremely high. Of course, the most critical reason is all those global organizations, non-profits, for-profits, doesn't matter, but those huge organizations are headquartered here. Usually not the tech organizations, Google's and all those, HP, Cisco's. They are based in some other parts of the US, of course. But still, when you look at the whole population, the talent is extremely well educated. It's especially where I live. I live in Bethesda. Around me, it's like 60% at least graduate degree. So it's unbelievable. And because of those international organizations, the population is moving constantly because they are usually expats, but they move in every 5 years. 5 years is a great time, a great window of opportunity to do something of your dreams. Okay, you can start a company, as we see. Okay, those immigrants or foreign-born people living here for a certain period of time, okay, very highly educated, connected back in their own countries. They have a huge brain power mindset, but they're not connected. So coming back to your question, immigrants, as Kuzehan mentioned, not only the US, right? If you even move from one house to another, okay, if you move from one city to another, then if you move from one country to another, which is totally a different culture, it is very, very tough. Okay, so you need time and resources, and the most critical resources, as discussed, support networks. Those support networks carry those people to wherever they want to go. Okay, that's very critical. And when you look at the city, it's changing. I mean, I've been here for 6-7 years, not so long, but even I experienced this, right? So there's, as they call it, gentrification, right? So money is being poured into the city, which makes talent is coming, great universities, and then the infrastructure is changing. So as Adam said, yes, there is, legal, federal, cyber tech, pharmaceutical, and health biotech industries are really present for long years ago. Okay, so since long years. But with that infrastructure being changed right now, the money is being poured in, and of course, the most critical changes after the pandemic, right? So nobody now believes, just like we are having a global conversation here right now, right? We never experienced this before the pandemic, right? So we wanted to meet in person. Well, nevertheless, I always want to meet all those people in person, of course. But still, this made a huge impact as everywhere in DC as well, right? So it's not only cybersecurity, legal, federal technologies anymore. So every vertical, although we see that all those new founders, entrepreneurs, brave enough to start a new business, is not only those mentioned topics anymore. So we see AI companies. Okay, we see auto technology companies, automobile industry. Okay, not only software but also hardware, not tech hardware, but tangible products for women or for specific communities like Black, LGBT communities, whatever, right? So that's all changing right now. So it's great actually to be here in this community at this time. So
super. Yeah. Super, thank you so much. Last question, because we do have a lot of people that we want to hear from. Kuzehan, you wrote recently an article that was published in Harvard Business Review. We have also discussed about mindset. We just heard that there are so many universities in DC. What's the biggest key? What's the answer to give an entrepreneurial mindset to our university regarding to your experience and what are your suggestions?
Nasos, thank you. I hope that you can also share the link so that people can understand what we are talking about. But it was about first-time entrepreneurs, especially the college students, how they can launch a startup and how can start all those things. And what I was talking about, I will tell the steps, but I will also talk about the mindset, which I was talking at my presentation, which is very critical. It is all about you. If you know yourself really well, you can really, and you can, of course, show empathy to yourself and compassion to yourself, then you can show empathy to others or compassion to others. Otherwise, it doesn't work. This is very important. And to understand that, you have to be sure, you need to understand what your mindset is made up. It's your mindset, it's like X, like a filter, okay? And you need to know how it is shaped. So that's the reason I was talking about when I was talking about who are you. These were the things, okay, your thought process. And it is shaped by, first with your parents, your relatives, your friends, your education, your experiences, and as I told, the memories. And you need to understand that your beliefs and or religion or all those things make your mind. And when you get the information outside, you are using like as a filter, right, to your mind, and you're also taking out your mind using this filter, and you need to open this filter like this. Sometimes it's not like this, and it is the best one, and I think it's called nirvana moment, okay, or however you call in your religion or your faith or whatever it is. It's the openness and clarification of your mind, but it is a process. You need to be aware of that. And actually, I believe in all the entrepreneurs have this ability to move on. And all of you, and you see, we are all here, and we know no borders, and we can work with anybody. And this is the important. And the other one, I will just add one thing. For example, when I was raised and I was raising my kids, I am telling them not talk to strangers. But what we are doing, all with other strangers. And if we don't know these strangers, we cannot understand them. So please just show empathy and compassion to others and try to understand them, because it's very important for you also. And it will be, of course, your community, and also they will be your customers. Thank you very much.
Well, I was on mute. Well, thank you so much. So to close this wonderful session, I want a startup battle, an elevator pitch between Techstars and Founder Institute. Why someone join Techstars? Why someone join Founder Institute? If we can join, if we have to come to stage, or it is something that we can do online. 1 minute each. So to show to startuppers how it's done.
All right. Well, first I'll say, Kuzahan, I appreciate the mindset piece. That's such an important part of this, because if you don't know yet, if you haven't started something yet, you know that failure is part of it. So you're going to fail as many times as you're going to succeed, and probably more. So being able to pivot and move is everything. So know yourself going in. Okay, why would you do Techstars? Techstars is for growth startups who are interested in having a US presence. So it can be anywhere in the world. You can be based anywhere in the world, but we do eventually require you to have a US component, and also we require you to grow. So if you're looking to grow, if you're tech or tech adjacent, and you want to have a US presence, we're interested. So Techstars is pre-seed level. So you can't be too far, you can't be too early. So if it's just an idea on a napkin, it's probably too early. But if you have 1,000, 10,000, 1 million customers, you might get too far for us. But if you're somewhere in between, we're looking for you. That's us.
Awesome. Now, Founder Institute.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nasos, again. We also describe ourselves as pre-seed, but we position ourselves right before Techstars in terms of stage, right? So as Adam has just indicated, we look for growth stage, right? So we find and look for those companies who are going to be growth stage, so they can graduate and perhaps go to Techstars, to Adam's Equitech Accelerator, right? So that's what we experience most of the time. We include those social entrepreneurs who are graduated from Halcyon, for instance. Here, it's a pretty impactful accelerator. So we take them, those graduates, or maybe many others who may not have a product yet. Okay, so we have two tracks: launch and growth. Growth is not meaning growth stage companies. They are the tracks that we tell, okay, that we position. Their assignments are different. So it's a 4-month program. It's very intense. It's like a military boot camp, right? So 70% fail meaning they say, oh, I can't bear this, right? It's too much. I can't deliver all those assignments. So it's there are two main components. Of course, mentors is the first one. Okay, there are 25,000 mentors all around the world, but there are many chapters. So I'm leading this chapter here in the DMV region with our great mentors like Kuzeyhan. Okay, so they are experts in their specific areas of expertise, right? Focus. So throughout that 4-month program, those selected entrepreneurs deliver those very intense assignments that we require, like at least 20 hours of work every week. So that's why 70% fail, which is totally fine, because the rest, the 30% that graduates, they are very strong. They're the ones who persevere, right? They're the ones that thrive. And for a lifetime, we give them a support after that. Okay, when I say we, FI gives the support, meaning there are other programs being unlocked for free. At the first place, we get some equity. Actually, we don't get it for free. It comes with a warrant. So if any questions about what warrant is, it's just a promise to buy shares in the future. Okay, so it's kind of buying shares. But the other programs are totally for free. And we have a huge network of not mentors, but VCs as well. Okay, also FI is coming with its own fund and micro funds. So happy to discuss this later on further. Please connect with me.
Super. Thank you so much. Let's put just a full stop in this nice session. Next session we will have technology for inclusion. I would like to welcome to our panel Erica and Elizabeth. Matheson.io. It's a technology. It's not an organization. It's a technology platform. The microphone is yours. The stage is yours. I would love to tell us more about what are you doing and how you do it.
Great, thank you so much. Let me just
give me one little second to.
Great.
You. Yes,
yeah.
I know what I'm going to do.
While Elizabeth is pulling up the slide deck, since she's speaking first, I'll go ahead and introduce myself really quickly. My name is Erica Robichaud. I am on the new partnerships team here at Matheson. I have a background in business and in user experience and product, and also in DEI. So now I get to do the really fun work of combining all three of those things into something very cool that I love. So I will let Elizabeth take it away and show you what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know why it's not going full screen, but let me look here.
Yeah.
So my name is Elizabeth Spenko, and I am the Chief Product Officer at Matheson. And today we're going to talk about insights to action, making the most of your DE&I data. My background is actually in design and design thinking. So I worked at a innovation consulting firm called IDEO for about 7 years. And then I ended up going to Northern Trust, which is a top 10 financial institution in the US, although it has a global presence as well. And there I led the digital experience solutions group. So basically in charge of engineering, design, as well as product for most of our client-facing applications. And being a woman in technology obviously got me very interested in DE&I and what that looks like. And so instead of just being able to have an impact in one organization, I joined Matheson to really be able to think about how can we bring inclusion and belonging and equitable systems to scale. So today I'm going to spend just about 10 minutes talking about some of the trends and the things that we're seeing. And then we'll talk about our platform. What Matheson does is it uses data to be able to help organizations set a strategic roadmap for greater diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then helps them mobilize their teams through training and research and content to be able to take action against that. So let me start just by talking about the state of the world that we are in today. So if we think about the commitment to DE&I, executives, let me see, I'm sorry, this is, if I can get this to be full screen, I will try to get this to be, it says it's full screen, I don't know, but hopefully it's full screen for you. But executives are making a commitment to DE&I. There's definitely a recognition that it's a top priority. The challenge is that employers are not setting diversity goals. And so as we think about that, how do you make progress against different objectives in your organization? You have to set goals, you have to set a roadmap and drive it forward. And that's exactly what we focus on. So as we think about understanding our company's current state, that's what we tell people. You have to understand your policies, your practices, and your systems, and be able to assess bias, be able to examine the current state of your DE&I programs and data. And that can come from, you know, your chief people officer, your human resources department, your DE&I leads. But there's also the need to be able to think about, how do your employees feel? And what does that look like? You could have really equitable policies and systems, but if your employees are not adopting that, what does that start to look like? Or if they don't feel like they can be heard or have a sense of belonging in their organization, how do you become aware of that and start to create change to enable that to be stronger? So as we think about policies, practices, and systems, there are a couple opportunities that we've seen. And my background, as I mentioned, is in, you know, thinking about innovation and digital and really disrupting different markets. And as a part of that, I always believe in doing deep research. So what we have found in these opportunities are from talking to hundreds of different companies, as well as our product advisory board, where we have the former head of DE&I for Gartner, the former chief people officer at Lyft, helping us understand what they've seen in organizations that have been successful around DE&I. So a couple of the top opportunities. The first one is making sure that you're not just thinking about representation, you know, and you're not just thinking about promotion, which is often the metrics that people use to think about DE&I. How often are people being promoted? Who are we retaining? What does our company representation look like? But that you're actually thinking about, what are the drivers of those? So what are the different things that you can track that actually lead to those things? Whether it be mentoring, ERGs, et cetera, whether it be an onboarding experience, what are the things that allow people to stay and thrive at an organization? And we think about that across the entire journey. So the other thing that we've seen is oftentimes companies just focus on the candidate experience. Who are we recruiting? But you also have to think about the employee journey and how are they coming into an organization? How are they onboarding? What does that look like? So again, going all the way from how are you setting your goals, defining what metrics you're going to track, How are you attracting people to your organization? What does the hiring process look like? And then just as importantly, how do we retain that talent? And how do we make sure that they're in a position to thrive? So some of the critical questions that you could consider asking yourself is, what type of data am I collecting today within an organization? How are we tracking progress over time? How do we know that we're shifting the needle and what that looks like? When you think about attracting and sourcing, it goes beyond simply, maybe recruiting from certain universities or other things, but it goes into, how do I signal to the world that I'm looking for inclusivity and equity? What does that look like in branding and marketing? And in terms of interviewing and engaging, how do you make sure that you're competing and making sure that you have consistency to remove bias? One of the people on our product advisory board, Tamika Curry-Smith, was the former head of DE&I for Nike and Mercedes-Benz USA. And I love what she talks about, which is the fact that inconsistency is the breeding ground for bias. And what does that mean? It means that if you're not creating a consistent way of assessing candidates, oftentimes you default to, well, I know this person through my children's school, or I know this person through church or other things. And to really make the pool wider for potential candidates, you need to be able to have the structure and a lot of clarity around what are the critical skills you're really looking for, and how are you going to evaluate candidates in a more equitable way. And then in terms of onboarding and advancement, thinking about not only performance reviews and things like that, but signaling to people from day one that they have a sense of belonging through their onboarding process, helping managers understand what it looks like to create a personalized onboarding plan that really highlights the values of an organization and the commitment to DE&I. The other thing is you don't have to start in a big way. So when you think about moving the needle and taking impact, start with 2 or 3 different opportunity areas. Set a roadmap, get a sense of where you're going, and then move forward. Oftentimes, I think people get overwhelmed because there's so many different ways that you can approach this work. And it's really just about getting started and what that looks like. And I'll give you an example. We were working with an agricultural company. Actually, they're in the agriculture and technology space. And one of the things that they wanted to do was to be able to prioritize their goals. And so when they thought about what are our policies, how do we think about our systems, one of the things that showed up for them was the fact that their senior leaders are held accountable for their DE&I goals, but nobody else in the organization was. So hiring managers were not held accountable. The broader base was not held accountable. And that's something that we see very often. So through our benchmarking, we have over almost 100 different organizations that we've spoken to about these things. And then we have benchmarking data for over 80 organizations. It's less than 20% that hold their hiring managers accountable. And those are the people that are on the front line creating that sense of inclusion and belonging for your employees. And one of the things that we found was that if you want to think about accountability, it has to go beyond HR and senior leadership. So what does that look like? You can think about communication. You can think about recognition for champions in your organization. How do you reward people for certain DE&I milestones? And then if you choose to go that far, taking action could also mean tying it to compensation and promotion criteria. So that's an example of how they started to move through the process and really move the needle by thinking about action. As we think about the other side, the employee survey side, it really goes beyond just what your systems and your processes are. And it goes much more towards, how do I think about representation from an employee lens? What are my equitable behaviors, and what does inclusion and belonging look like? So for example, how does representation vary by different department? Or which departments and geographies are actually implementing some of the initiatives that we have, like interview scorecards or other things? And then which communities feel like they have a stronger sense of inclusion and belonging? And how does that vary by department and level? We'll give an example later around how often in technology, and I can appreciate this from my own lens, the spectrum of when you're looking at gender, you might have an organization that looks like it is an equitable place for women, but when you start to look at senior leadership in technology, that often changes. So at Matheson, when we think about employee representation, we look beyond simply thinking about what you can see, meaning ethnicity and gender, and we focus on other things like neurodiverse community, veterans, working parents. When we think about equitable behaviors, we're looking at how often are you recognizing people? What about mentorship opportunities? What about having accessibility accommodations? And for an inclusion and belonging, do I feel like I can express my ideas? Do I feel like I'm contributing to something larger than myself? And finally, I'll talk through an example where if you really want to think about targeting your plan, oftentimes it's important to look at the department level. So I'll give an example. That same company started to work with us. They made progress. Their inclusion and belonging score went up by 5% over a 6-month period, but they had one department where actually inclusion and belonging dropped. And it was the lowest in the organization. It was 7% lower than the rest of the organization. And when they dug in to understand more, they realized that they had an issue where employees in that department did not feel like they were getting fair consideration for career development. And so they started to dig deeper into that. And they realized that even though they had a mentoring program for people, that people weren't necessarily taking advantage of it. And so they wanted to then start a mentorship program that really led to getting a better understanding of what does it look like? How do you consider what's needed for that group? Is it around, future managers and rising stars? How do you start to make progress by getting more clear around what's working and what's not, and what people are adopting in your organization versus what the policies are? So that's a little bit about Matheson. Again, I'll let Erica dive deeper into our platform, but what we do is we really help you assess and implement and optimize your DE&I initiatives through bringing different data sources together and to better understand where the greatest opportunities are so you can focus your efforts. Erica, I'll let you jump over. Can you see the platform?
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can still see. Yes, we can see the platform.
Okay.
I don't know, Erica.
Yeah, thank you. So what does DEI tech even look like? Elizabeth mentioned a lot of things in that talk. So that was, you got a whole bunch into that 15 minutes. That was impressive. When we start to think of representation as not just race or gender, but that whole expansive list that Elizabeth was showing. And when we start to think of the employee life cycle as an end-to-end life cycle, which means before they ever even think about working for your company, all the way through their last day, there's so many touch points along that way. There are so many people who are included in that. And then we start to think about a sense of inclusion and belonging. And there are lots of people involved in that. All of a sudden, we have this massive amount of information. Elizabeth also touched on how many different verticals within your organization are involved in this. So it can be your hiring managers, it can be HR, it can be, if you have a DEI department, people ops, on and on and on, right? So all of a sudden, we live in this time where we have tons and tons and tons of available information, which is amazing. But how do you synthesize that all down in an easy to understand and actionable way? So That is what I think is most exciting about DEI technology, is we're able to start to look at DEI and make an actionable strategic plan, just like we would with any other business objective. So what does that look like, and where does all of that information actually come from? Whenever you sign on to our platform, the very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take this assessment that we call the Matheson Equity Index. A lot of organizations, when they think of DEI metrics, they think of outcomes. So how many women do we have in our company? How many people of color do we have on our leadership team? Things like that. And that's great, but how do you actually get there is the important question. So what our assessment looks like is about 50 questions, and it's designed to break down all of these individual drivers that go into a successful DEI effort. You saw Elizabeth talking about the different pieces of the employee life cycle. So all of our platform is broken down into 4 main categories. So you can see here, we've got defining and checking all the way before, we even start thinking about the employees. Let's think about our company and what we're currently doing and our processes and systems, and are they fair and are they equitable? We've got attracting and sourcing. That's before someone ever even thinks of joining your company. What do they think about you? What do they see? Interviewing and engaging is probably the piece that a lot of companies kind of get stuck on, because they think, let's bring in diverse talent and then we'll have a diverse company. But what's equally important is the onboarding and advancing piece. Once those people get into your company, do they feel included? Do they feel like they are going to be able to advance in your organization? And ultimately, do they want to stay? And so if we dive into, let's just look at the onboarding and advancing piece of it. So you can start to get a sense of what kinds of questions that we're asking here. So this question says, does your organization orient new hires in your onboarding program to your DEI commitment, to your existing programs, to opportunities to engage in diverse efforts? So this is a really important piece that honestly a lot of companies miss in their onboarding, and it's pretty easy to solve. And then if you click on what you need to know about this, you can start to see why this is important. So you're going to go through this assessment. It can take about an hour to complete, so you get a ton of information very quickly. And then once you take that assessment, what that's going to look like is you're going to jump into this dashboard, and it's going to give you all kinds of great information. So what we're trying to solve here, and what we hear over and over, is that companies, when it comes to their DEI efforts, have a hard time with transparency, with accountability, with sharing and tracking their progress. So we are trying to solve all of those things by helping you to see at a high level very quickly your current efforts and what you are doing to improve those efforts. So as we're scrolling down here, you can see, again, we have these different categories that we're going to break it up into some scores. You can see that you can track these things by quarter, so that you can start to track your progress in all of these different categories. Another thing that we're going to do is highlight your key strengths. Those are very important because you need to know how you got there, right? If you're doing something really great, can you duplicate that and replicate that in your other efforts? And then, of course, we're also going to help find some of those gaps in your current efforts that you can start to address. So the second piece of that information is from your employees. So the equity index is designed to assess your current efforts from the employer side. What we also want to do is find out from your employees how they feel about what you're doing. So I'm sure a lot of you are very aware and familiar with employee surveys, and there's some key pieces that are in there. Number one is the self-ID. As you saw, our self-ID section is much more expanded because we believe that true representation is much more expensive than traditional, some of those traditional DEI metrics. We are also going to ask belonging questions. Those are really important to see what different types of groups and what level of seniority and all of those things, how those different groups are feeling. And then finally, what I think is super cool about our employee survey is that we're going to ask some sort of parallel questions to that equity index. And why that's important is because as an organization, you might think that you have, you're doing really great in one of your efforts. And then if you ask your employees, maybe they're not even aware of that program that you have worked so hard to implement for them. So maybe it's as simple as educating them more on the resources that are already available at your company. And that helps them to feel more included and feel like they have a better chance of advancement in your organization. So really uncovering those gaps and also your strengths, again, are going to help us to inform the recommendations that we want to give you. So once we have all of this great information available, what we are going to do is we are going to provide recommendations for you. This is going to be tailored to your specific organization using all of that information that we just garnered for you. And then, like I said, in the touch of a button. So maybe a few years ago, it might have taken a single person days or weeks or even months to gather all of this information, to put it together into a report. What we're trying to do is make this super easy and fast for you so that we take all of this information and we are able to give you really organization-specific recommendations in the order that we think that it is going to benefit you the most. So for whatever resources you have available for your DEI effort, you're maximizing those resources and you're able to focus those resources on the things that matter, on the people, on the systems, and less on trying to synthesize all of this different information. So you're going to see here, we have a number of different recommendations. We've clicked on this one, and this goes back to what Elizabeth was showing us earlier. So this one is create a structured interview process for all roles and share broadly. And inconsistency, that's where you are going to really derail your DEI efforts. So what this is going to allow you to do is to have consistency across that hiring process. So as you begin to scroll down, what's very cool is we will give you a number of actions to consider. So we're not just telling you where your gaps are, but we're giving you actionable steps in order to address those gaps. And then you can see that we have a number of highlighted things here that are links. And those are tools that we have inside of our platform. So you can just click on that link and get that tool that you need to complete that action step. So it's really everything all in one place. And Elizabeth, if you scroll up a little bit, you'll be able to see that there's also, you see that save to my action plan button. If you say, yes, this is a goal that we think we need to focus on, you can save that to your action plan. And then as you go over, click over to your action plan, you're going to be able to see all of the goals and all of the actions needed to complete these goals. So if you click into one, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I know we're running out of time, but this is a great place for you to track your efforts. You're going to be able to see if your goal is on target. You're going to be able to set a timeline. You're going to be able to assign a goal leader and a goal team. As you scroll down, you're going to see those actions to consider. Again, those resources that we're going to give you to help you complete these actions, and then a notes section that you can use to communicate with your team. So essentially, we're not just showing you your gaps, we're not just giving you an action plan, but we're giving you everything you need in order to be successful and to complete those actionable steps so that as we're looking at that dashboard and that progress we're seeing those numbers continue to go up. And then as you complete these goals, you're going to have new goals to focus on. So it's not a set it and forget it type of thing. I like to say that DEI is an ongoing conversation forever, because you're never going to get it exactly right. But what we're trying to do is continue to make progress and to get better, better, and better.
Thank you. Erica, thank you so much. I do have a quick question, because a lot of the audience is from the startup world. What is the optimal company size to use the platform, or even in the beginning of a team? What are the first steps for measuring inclusion or understanding about DEI?
Yeah, I will very quickly give my 2 cents, and then I'll let Elizabeth jump in. When you're first starting out, if you're not in a place where a full platform like this makes sense to you, what I would recommend is really just having that expanded view of what DEI actually means. So don't just focus on, diversity hiring, but really start to think about, what do people, if my company is in the news, or if we're posting on LinkedIn, or we're having events, what are people seeing about our company? Start to think of that. Start to think of the processes all the way before a candidate even considers your organization, all the way through the end, and just start to expand in your mind what a fully inclusive DEI effort actually looks like from end to end of that employee life cycle. So that would be my advice for companies that are just starting out. Elizabeth, do you want to talk about the platform piece?
Sure, yeah. We typically target organizations, we have organizations that have 50 people. We have organizations that are much larger than that. But we find that it's the most successful when you're doing this effort. Again, in some cases, people actually use this platform instead of hiring a DE&I leader too. This is something that you can do if you're not big enough to do that. At least get started to understand your gaps. And so oftentimes we are working with organizations that are, 50 to 250 people. And then obviously we have organizations that are larger than that as well.
Okay. Super. I don't know if you have any other questions. Perhaps we will take just one. If we have, if a hand arises, we'll do it. Well, no brave in this webinar. I do have a little question, but perhaps we can discuss it later about the talent retention statistics in diverse companies. If we have some metrics regarding talent retention in an organization, if you have any insights, it would be great. And pass to Carl and Deal after that.
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one. And again, Elizabeth, if you have anything, you can jump in. We have been able to see another piece of information that I didn't mention is integrating into HRIS systems. So in those systems, as you know, there is a lot of really great information in there. And as we have in some of our efforts started to take that information and track sort of how the DEI efforts using our platform are informing some of the retention rates and things like that, we have actually seen a positive correlation between increased senses of belonging and increased attrition rates and things like that. So we do, I wouldn't go as far as to say we have specific metrics, but in the cases that we've seen, we have seen a positive correlation in that.
Okay. So Matheson.io, I invite you to join and click on the links. Of course, you can download the ebook of, they have a lot of free resources. I do use them. I did understand a lot. Hope you have, we have you later on the open dialogue. Thank you for now. Thanks for joining us. It was great to have you here.
Thank you.
So from the States back to Europe, and we are going now to Barcelona, that has a difficult times after the Messi era. Carl, join us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nasos, and thank you all for coming. And yeah, indeed, it's been a difficult couple of years, but let's not talk about those stuff right now. So first of all, really appreciate organizing this and inviting us to this event. It's been really interesting to hear all about the different people that have been talking here. But I wanted to introduce myself and our company first. So I am Deal. I am from Deal. For those of you that don't know it, we basically, what we do is that we build a platform to help people work all over the world, regardless of what they do, where they are, what's the legal form. We want to make sure that people can work all over the world. So just real quick on who I am. I'm just like a sales manager here in Southern Europe. I've been in the company since we were about 200 people. We are now more than 2,000 people in over 100 countries around the world. We do not have an official headquarters because we do believe in remote work. We do believe in being able to scale up teams all over the world. And we've done this in about a year and a half, more or less, because until a year and a half ago, we were always like on a constant about 100 people. So it's been super important for us to make sure that we can build a very inclusive platform and especially very inclusive process of working with people, because this is something that not only is part of our mission. At the end of the day, what we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to be hired all over the world. We want to be able to be paid all over the world. But this was something that we needed for our job. Everyone in our company is fully remote. Everyone in our company can work from everywhere. We got people that are always in the same place, kind of like me, which I'm always in Barcelona. We also got people that are traveling 24/7 and they just continuously working. So how have we done this job? We always focus in these three ways, which is the three things that we're going to talk about. First of all, what is our core ideals? What is the stuff that we see as benefits of having a global team? So we're always looking back at this and thinking, what are the things that we need to bring forward, and what are the things that are really important for us to continue developing this ideal that we have of hiring people over the world, but also for us, what is the best way of doing this? What are the challenges that we're finding when building this remote team and creating this culture that can foster integration, that can foster belonging, that can help everyone really scale as fast as possible? Because one of the things that we have seen is that since COVID, now people understand that being able to hire all over the world is something that's super useful, and doing it properly has been complicated, right? So how can we build this? And finally, what is the actual management of this remote and diverse teams? How are we actually applying all of this? So these are three exercises that we're going to go through now, but it's something that we really are thinking about all the time. So why should you build a global team? For us, it's very simple. There are very selfish and very unselfish reasons. If you're looking at very selfish reasons, you come all the way from being able to find a diversely priced resource. So you can find people that are extremely skilled in places that maybe are not as expensive as what you will be used to if you're hiring only in San Francisco, if you're hiring only in the capital of your country, right? Prices can vary in people. So you are on one side offering usually a better salary to somebody that probably would not have access to this kind of company, would not have access to this kind of job. We're seeing a lot of people that would normally have moved or immigrated to a different country that are not doing this anymore, that are moving back to their countries to be with their families, to be with their parents, right? To spend more time with the people they want to be at a nicer price for everyone. So that's on the selfish side, right? You're also able to find a lot more people, but also from a more open perspective, it is always a much better environment to be working in when you can have a very diverse team. It helps with creating new dynamics that maybe you couldn't think of before. we have seen that it helps us develop our products a lot better because you have a lot more different points of view inside of the same company. You can learn how people do the things within different companies. You can learn from each other. We have people all the way from Asia around the world, passing through Europe, passing through Israel, through Africa, in both Americas, and they all have different ways of doing things. And when teams are well built, you can really bring this skill set, bring this way of doing things into your process, and really work it through so that it can get better and just you can learn better. Challenges that are building this team, because this is something very important, right? I would say the most important challenge that we're seeing is that most of the time, fully remote or hybrid companies are thinking of bringing what we used to do before into the technological world, right? We're doing in job or in office work, but just remotely. And that's not how things work, right? So if we're thinking about really working remotely, if we're really thinking about working inclusively, we need to make this a part of a new way of working. That's something that people find difficult to do because there's not an existing history of, there's not as much of a history of doing this. So it is really an effort that you have to do to be able to do it successfully. You really have to be fighting these challenges and the issues that people can fall into of feeling overlooked or feeling isolated if they're not just there in the office. People sometimes being less productive because they're used to being told something, right? Not being used to being so proactive. So this is something that people really need to think about. And the key word throughout this whole process that we've been seeing is being intentional. You really need to bring intentionality in the work that you're doing. If you're not being intentional about doing all the things that you want to do, if you're not intentional about checking in with all your colleagues, checking in with your whole teammate, checking it up and down the line of reporting, you are not going to be able to get this synergies that people tend to see when they're making a coffee in their office or they're just going for a walk to the bus station from the office, right? So this is something that really people need to think about, and that is not as easy to do. Sometimes we think, yeah, we'll just put meetings in and everyone will talk, but people then skip them, right? So you really need to be effective and intentional in what you're doing. So on the issue of isolation, so many times when people work from anywhere, I like to speak about work from anywhere, not from home, because so many times we're also seeing, right, if somebody's a parent and they have to bring their children to an activity, right, they can take their laptop and bring it there, right? So they're just suddenly working from the swimming pool, right? Or they're working from their house with their parents, right? So it's nice to talk about this, but what can happen here is that people may feel isolated if their schedules are clashing with the team drinks that is happening, right? Or if the schedules are clashing with some team meeting or something like that, right? So it's really important to make sure that on one side, you're making everything as flexible as possible. You're making as little meetings as possible, but when you're doing those, you're really focusing on doing them in a way that most people can fit into them. Make sure you're providing recordings if necessary. Make sure you're checking in with the people that haven't been able to attend a meeting to make sure that they get those ideas. They can share their results with you. They can share their thoughts about it with you so that everyone can feel included in this process, even when they weren't really in the process from the beginning. You also have the challenge of office versus home, right? So sometimes people don't really know where to work from or what is the material they can have, right? So it's very important as well to think about, we're not putting a way of, okay, if some people is in the office, if some people are at home, these are not going to clash, these are really going to work together. So on one side, make sure that, for example, everyone has the same resources. If you have fancy screens in your office and you have some people working remotely, you have to be able to offer those to them as well, right? You have to be able to offer the same computers. If you're working remotely and everyone is remotely, give the same amount of resources to everyone so you don't feel people really being treated differently just because they didn't ask for it, or just because they just weren't really aware that this was a possibility for them. So that's something that we really work on, and we really have seen that's very, very useful. That's something that we also integrate in our platform when we're working with our clients, which is really offering different options to be able to productize and make sure that these types of opportunities of sharing, of adding value to the people's work life, right, are part of your process when you're onboarding people, when you're paying people, when you're dealing with the people in your team. Finally, reduce productivity. Sometimes people are just not used to it. People are used to be with their bosses breathing down their necks and being monitored, and then all of a sudden they don't have that, right? And they're fully free and they're fully open, right? So sometimes you just need to make sure that you can track everything you're doing. Going back to like the presentation that we saw before, the talk that we saw before with Matheson, really having all that data, all that information is key, but that goes down to all the different aspects of the business. So you can identify where are some issues with productivity, and then work with the people that may be having these issues to make sure that you're finding a better way for them to work. And really the secondary part of this is really make sure that we are tracking the proper KPIs. When we're looking at these KPIs, we're really looking for process, or are we looking for results? What is the important thing in our company so that we can fix these productive issues? Sometimes this cannot be fixed because unfortunately, not everyone is good for remote work. Maybe not everyone is used to doing this, and maybe they're not willing to change, right? So sometimes this is something that we need to look at as well. But we really need to make sure that the KPIs are not necessarily always the same for everyone, and we need to see when those are adequate or not for the goals that we want to reach. And then finally, how we have done this. How have we managed to do this remote and diverse team in a positive way? So travel, the things that we focus on when balancing different cultures. As I said before, we have people from all over the world. We have people that are working from many different religions, many different languages, many different ways of working with, and seeing the world, right? So for us, one of the most important things is make sure that people share stuff about their cultures. We don't want to be gated about it. We want to make sure that we're celebrating all the different holidays that are over the world. And if you find somebody that is from a very small town where they have a very small festivity, encourage them to talk about this festivity, right? Encourage them to tell us the story about their culture and about what's going on in their country and at that festivity. Make sure that people are aware of all these things, because many times, I mean, when I joined the company, I wasn't very aware of certain things that they do in Israel, which I am now, right? I know a lot more things I didn't know about Passover. Now I know about Passover, right? I didn't know as much about Ramadan. Now I know a lot about Ramadan, right? So like, it's very fun to see how these people are celebrating different things, because also this way you can see how they think about things too. So it's very, very important to share things about their culture. Make sure that people are respectful with their different nationalities and religious days, right? So do not book a meeting with the whole team if you have 2 people that are on holidays that day, right? Make sure you have the calendars reflecting all of these things so that everyone can make sure that you're not pestering your colleagues if they're doing Ramadan early in the morning when they have to be eating, or late at night when they are waiting to start to break their fast, right? So like, it's those things that really make sure that you can involve everyone inside of your process. Make sure that when you're planning projects, when you're planning meetings, you can look around these different time zones and make sure that those are as well affected as possible. So if you're pairing 2 people to do a project and one is in Australia and the other one is in New York, that might be a bad pairing, right? So make sure you are thinking about these things, or give those people some way of communicating that's not necessarily synchronous. And finally, if possible, encourage people to learn different languages and then pair people to practice, right? I am a native Spanish speaker. If somebody in the US is trying to learn Spanish, I'm happy to talk to them and help them learn Spanish, right? If you want to learn German, make sure that you have some type of exchange with them, right? So this is one thing that will also help bring people together, but also will help me understand their cultures better. So then I can be more aware of when I'm talking to this person, maybe I can find a different way of talking to them that will be more effective when I'm communicating things. It's not always the same to talk to somebody. Like the Germans, for example, whenever they ask for something and they ask for something with intentionality, they always put admiration signs, right? Exclamation signs at the end of it. People feel that this is very aggressive. For them, it's a normal thing, right? So these kinds of things are important so that you can make sure that everyone feels not threatened in their job. And then on a more technical level, make sure that you have asynchronous and intentional communication. So make sure that you don't have to be online for people to talk to you, right? Make sure that you set up this culture of collecting all the information in a synchronous manner, that you say, hey, you missed that meeting, so now you missed that information. No, make sure that all of the things are always in there. All of the information is always present in some sort of way in the company. Make sure that you're setting clear expectations on both the process that people are making and also the results of those processes, so that people can be aware of what they're doing while they're doing it. those have to have also transparency. I want to be able to see my progress when I'm doing it, and I want to be able to see my team's progress while I'm doing it, so I can get to people and see how their job is affected or what's happening. Then trust people. I am not a huge fan. We're not huge fans of really being tracking people all the time, because at the end of the day, people are not going to be at their best if they feel like if they screw up, right, something's going to happen to them, right? So really trust people and make sure that they can feel at ease when they're working out. Making sure that this community building is important. So really be intentional about making these things a priority for the team. And finally, something very important, but it is very not thought about many times, is bias to positivity, right? Many times I can write something, many times I can write an email and I'll send it out, and for me it's totally casual. People read that same email and people think I was mad, right? It's like, make sure that you're always talking about this and saying, hey, think about when you're reading something, first think positive, then think negative, right? Usually I remember my teachers in the past in school would say the opposite. They would say, think badly and you're probably right. Now it's quite the opposite, no? Think positive and you're probably right, because people don't tend to be mean and people don't tend to be bad. So really try and have this positivity.
So
And
do you have to use emojis in our emails? I do have a little things. I do have smiles. Because we are just a little bit out of schedule, and we have to go to Katerina Papanikolaou, because I think she has to go. I don't know if she has the time to stay just for a few minutes to share the PwC story, and of course move on to the schedule. And Carl, if you be so kind to stay to have more questions later. Katerina and Steffi, that's the next session. Katerina is a corporate from the corporate world, a different world from Steffi, but I think we have a lot of to talk about women in technology. And Katerina, I understand that you're in a busy schedule, and the stage is yours.
Thank you for hosting us. I'm really happy to be here with you. Just a short introduction. I'm Katerina Papanikolaou. I'm working for PwC Greece. What I'm doing here is that I'm leading the skills and the diversity, equity, and inclusion offerings. So I'm providing services to our clients related to skills, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I hopefully believe that you can understand the connection between skills and diversity if you follow my presentation in a while. And at the same time, my team and I were collaborating with the PwC network so that we can enable startup ecosystem to scale up and level up. So we have another way of seeing skills, diversity, and innovation to working with startup ecosystem. So I would like to share a presentation that I have prepared for you. I will go through some specific slides. Feel free to ask me anything you may feel like. But okay, I think that now I can share my screen. Give me a moment. Are we okay? You're
yes,
seeing my screen,
if you try to make it
yes.
It's a full screen.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Perfect. So where to start? Of course, we all know this triangle between venture capitals, corporates, startups at the very heart of an innovation ecosystem. And of course, anything related to digital skills, technology, and innovation can be found here. What are the main challenges for startups and for corporates? Actually, we see that the market and the technologies are changing. There's a huge transformation. There is a huge process underneath what the corporates and the startups are doing. So the need for upskilling and the need for collaboration is more than crucial nowadays. because we truly believe that both corporates and both startups can take advantage of such collaboration and at the same time can bring back to the community more value when they both, but in a different way, invest in upskilling and skilling initiatives. So everyone could say that not only startups, but also corporates have competition as their greatest threat. Of course, we can understand why startups can see that competition is the greatest threat, because startups actually are more focused on their business side and the idea that they have and what they're bringing into life. So they have to move fast, they have to be realistic, and at the same time, they have to be ambitious, and they have to invest both in technology and at the same time in a very skilled and skillful workforce. And of course, we have the phenomenon of skills shortage. We all know that in Europe, most of the adults have a lack of basic digital skills. And this is actually creating a lot of problems when it comes to attracting talent and retaining that kind of talent. And it is also interconnected why the European Commission has decided that 2023 is the European Year of Skills. They all need to boost competitiveness, participation, talent retention, talent development. And so we need more access to more skills. That's the underlying issue. Although the workforce is there, startups and corporates would say that we don't find the right people. Or even if we find it, there is a high risk that we're going to lose it in a very short time. On top of this, we can add that the digital divide, the gender digital divide, actually puts extra pressure. And we have to do something very quickly. We have to address the digital divide with more responsibility, both if we are a startup or if we are a corporate organization. So here is a brief overview of what we are, our approach and our methodology here in PwC, what we're doing in order to promote diversity. Diversity, of course, can be promoted through cultural aspects, and I should not focus on that. I think that this aspect was already covered. We have to promote inclusion, we have to promote ethical behaviors, we have to promote human rights policies, and a safe environment so that everyone could speak up, be himself or herself, come out when it needs, and actually bring his real self, his authentic self to the work environment. And at the same time, diversity can be seen through the skills aspect. It's what I bring to the work environment I'm working for. I bring my capabilities and my skills. And this is sometimes the easiest way to create a more diverse team. What we have seen is that the previous year, there was a huge pressure to attract experts and people with high specialization in a very specific topic or capability. And the startup ecosystem helped us learn that in the corporate environment, we can attract people with both expertise, but at the same time with a broader understanding of what we call horizontal skills. So that we can combine that kind of expertise, but at the same time, ability to respond to many situations, be more focused towards results, and more focused on agility and transformation. So we truly believe that this, in a technology ecosystem or in a startup ecosystem, we can actually combine more easily the fact that we can have a workforce that is very expert and at the same time has a broader skill set, a wide range of skills that are horizontally seen. And we can understand that this is actually the sustainability of the business model that both technology ecosystem and startup ecosystem is looking for, and is a key driver to success and to more funding, more sustainability of the business outcomes, and success at the very end. So we believe that if a corporate organization or a startup or a government or an organization put more effort on upskilling and more funding, this actually could be related to more sustainability and to more diversity. Because we believe that if we actually promote that kind of, you can come with the skills that you have, and we're here to upskill you or to reskill you, then this is the magic recipe to create more diverse groups. And this is actually a recipe for success that has been seen in lots of startups, that they start from 3, 4, 5, 10 people. And actually, through a broader skill set, they manage to respond to different responsibilities and capabilities, rather than being very experts on a very specific thing. So this is a way that we believe that skills can be seen as a competitive advantage. And this is the way that we believe that also startups and technology large corporates should invest in upskilling and should bring skills and upskilling in the agenda when it comes to diversity. Lots of information here. I wouldn't like to bother you more, but I think that this kind of capability, agility, that we have multi-skilled employees who can work with diverse groups is actually the key factor to promote diversity. If we gather all around and we bring our skills, our different perspectives, our different opinions, our different experience, and then actually we can bring our true selves. Conscious of time, should I go through the next slides, Nasos, or should I stop here? I don't know.
You can make a pause. I don't know if you have the time to make the discussion with Steffi. So let's bring Steffi on board so to have more insights about angel investing, women entrepreneurship. I don't know, Steffi, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Kalispera. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Nasos, for the invitation.
I don't know, it was a small network error, but I hope you are with us. Tell us your story. Who are you and what are you doing in the business world? And tell us, please, about the Hellenides network.
Yes, of course. So the truth is that I started my first business was when I was 6. And I did my first angel investment when I was 25. So my first business, 30 years ago, I collected all electric equipment from the house, such as microwaves, juice makers, and received phone orders and actually shipped these products to clients' houses. The name of the company was Tefalex, and it was really my favorite game and pastime. My parents were furious with the mess I created in the house, but probably they empathized because both of them are entrepreneurs. In 2007 now, when I was 20, I started my first real business. I participated in some business classes at Columbia University in New York, and coming back in Athens, I realized that college students did not have an online marketplace to sell their used textbooks. So I created a book exchange marketplace. A year later, I started another company. It was a digital advertising marketplace that a couple of years ago connected 300 companies with 15,000 websites. This company had a huge success. We were market leaders and had clients in 17 countries. Back then, at the age of 25, I also became a lecturer of digital marketing. That's when also I did my first angel investment. I was working very hard back then without any balance, and that led to a burnout. I had to reprioritize everything. It was a very pivotal moment in my career and in my life. I started meditating, I started yoga, psychotherapy, and I also started triathlon. I was listening to so many podcasts back then, and this is how I was inspired to launch my own podcast 5 years ago, which today has 95 episodes and thousands of subscribers. After that, I founded a wellness travel company that organized wellness retreats in Greece, in Mykonos and in Portocheli, but that business could not have economies of scale. And this was a failure in terms of profitability, and it was not a sustainable business. So for the Elenides community in 2022, a year ago, we launched the Elenides network that empowers women in the career through an online academy with 55 courses, online and offline events, and various tools that supports them. So my first angel investment had a successful exit. It was a taxi bit. All these years, I had many startups asking me to connect them with wealthy people. And on the other hand, I had these wealthy people asking me to connect them with startups. And a year ago, I felt a special momentum and I wanted to be more extrovert. So I founded Orama Ventures. Orama means vision in Greek. It's a boutique network and angel syndicate. We connect visionary, courageous, high energy, driven, resilient, and diverse startup founders with generous angel investors towards a shared Orama in order to create a more sustainable and better world by solving individual problems with global reach. Women also, they are joining us since they understand that they can create generational wealth, take care of their kids, buy a home, live their dream. Private market investing is the quickest way to upgrade their lives. My Orama, my own vision, is to see more women investors in Greece.
Thanks, Steffi. I would like to ask both of you, what are the challenges to bring more women in tech and entrepreneurship? Just take the mic and step up.
The stereotype that we don't have enough women in tech. Simple as that.
Yeah,
that's
but Mr. Dritsa said that only 20% are founders.
That's why I'm naming it stereotype. I don't believe that it is true, but you know, we have that kind of notion that we cannot find women. Women are not adequate enough. Women are not skilled enough. So, you know, it's a dead end. So we can just hire men and we're okay because we don't have enough women. What can we do? It's actually what we hear every day here in Greece when it comes to technology roles, that we don't have women. So we're forced to hire men because we don't have women.
So, but,
that's why we believe that focusing on upskilling, both from the very early stage, from the university, as a CSR initiative, as a CSR effort for specific companies, till the very end, that we have women inside our organization, and that we actually invest in upskilling them, not reskilling, upskilling. Okay, I think that this is the whole idea behind, so that we can stop saying that we don't have enough women. It's almost the same when we say we don't have enough women for senior positions.
Okay, but Steffi, can you bring us some insights from your background in the States? Did you do something different? Did more women wanted to join some university schools for technology? It was about mindset. What's your insights?
Yeah, mindset is very important, Naso, but I would like to go deeper into the venture capital. So venture capital, like the rest of the alternative investments industry, has made efforts towards improving diversity and inclusion in recent years, but progress is still too slow. VC firms have made progress in hiring and promoting more diverse employees, but capital decisions, and this is the key in decision-making, are being made by a homogeneous group. White men, let's see some statistics, represent 30% of the population, 58% of all VC investors, and they manage 93% of VC dollars. White women represent 30% of the general population, but they only represent 11% of venture partners, managing just 3% of the wealth. The remaining 40% of the general population are represented by 31% of venture partners and manage just 4% of the wealth. In the UK, for example, only 13% of senior people on UK investment teams are women, and almost half of investment teams have no women at all. Less than 1% of UK venture funding goes to all female teams and just 4% of deals. This is a complex issue, but not one that we should overlook, as it is frequently mentioned by female and diverse entrepreneurs who feel they are judged to be less competent than their peers. Homogeneous VC firms are leaving significant value on the table. Studies have shown that venture firms with at least one female founder generate 9.7% more profitable exits. While we should not assume that investors are overly supportive of founders that share their gender or ethnicity, a systematic bias can be created when a powerful group of people is not representative of the demographics of the overall population. If we increase the number of females and visible minorities in investment decision-making positions, we will move the needle towards having more funding invested into diversity. So no matter how you slice it, diverse teams outperform homogeneous teams, and the numbers back it up. Teams that are diverse by gender and ethnicity generate 30% higher multiples on investment capital compared to homogeneous teams. Companies with at least one female or one ethnically diverse founder generate over 60% in business value. When considering exits in the VC and PE world, the returns from diverse teams are an incredible degree higher than those from homogeneous ones. A recent report from Diversity VC investigated the profiles of founding teams receiving venture capital financing from the most active funds in the US. And they found that VC-backed startups were still disproportionately men, 89%, white, 71%, based in Silicon Valley, 35%, and Ivy League educated, 13%, with very little change in data in 2 years. In 2022, according to a JP Morgan report, in this difficult market, female founders have lower median burn rates, greater valuation growth at the early stage, and lower valuation declines at the late stage compared to all male-founded companies year over year. Angel investment and unicorn deal value among female-founded companies have both reached their second highest annual levels. And although exit activity fell sharply along with the rest of the VC ecosystem in 2022, female-founded companies continue to outperform the broader market when it comes to the median time it takes to exit. Despite these wins, female-founded companies still represent only 25% of total VC deal count, with a broader ecosystem a slight dip from 26% in 2021. So check writers are a driving force for diversity in the VC ecosystem, and the lack of female representation in firms has a ripple effect on the founders they invest in, as well as the LPs that trust them to generate the returns. So promoting and recruiting female check writers can open doors to more female founders and diversity portfolios. There's still much more progress, of course, to be made within the VC firms, but year to date, 32 billion has been invested in female-founded companies, meaning 2022 is already the second highest year in terms of deal value after 2021 outside year. So the number of active female angel investors reached a record of 935 in 2021. So far in 2022, 500 female angel investors in the US have made at least one deal, demonstrating some reduction. Female angel investment into female-founded companies, however, has already reached its second highest year for deal value, representing a record of 37% of deals with angel participation. Female-founded unicorns reached their second highest annual level in terms of deal value, with 6 billion closed across 45 deals. 2 female-founded unicorns, Dealer Talkdesk, achieved decacorn, which is a post-money valuation of 10 billion or more. This year is on pace to be the 12th straight year that female-founded companies exited faster than the broader market, with the median time to exit of female-founded startups hovering at 7.2 years compared to all startups at 8.1 years. But let's see why.
Steffi, sorry to interrupt you, because we will have plenty of insights from Unifund. We had a really nice conversation last Saturday about VC, and we are just running out of time for this session, but I want to do it with more time in the open dialogue. Let's put just, I want to give you, Katerina and you, 1 minute, just to focus on a battle again between why women in corporate and why women in entrepreneurship. And then we go to Catherine Riley, and we can go back, of course, and talk about VC. We have a lot of stakeholders here. I see from women organization, I can see from VC in the audience. And of course, we can go back if you're here, it will be perfect. So I want to give you 1 minute precisely, like it's a competition. So Katerina, why women in corporate against women in startups?
If you expect me to respond like that, women leaders have more empathy, that we need more women in a panel, or we need more women in a meeting because they bring that kind of empathy, they bring their emotional intelligence, I'm not the right person. So I don't believe that women do this and men do that. I truly believe that we need more perspectives, and it's not only gender-based that. We just need more people. We need more perspectives. We need more safe places so that both women and men can be themselves and express themselves. I don't think that there is a big difference between corporate and entrepreneurship or corporate and startup ecosystem. It's where you feel like you belong and where you feel like you can give more value. But I think that we need more safe places for people to be authentic, express themselves, be open, share their opinions, share their different perspectives, their different experiences, and be able to respect and build a common ground for everyone. So I don't know why women in corporate.
Okay. Thank you, Steffi. A quick statement, and let's move on to Catherine Riley.
So when I was promoting the event, I said I will be sharing some specific diversity and inclusion policies and action items. I cannot miss mentioning these. So I would mention 4 pillars that can create change. So the first one is talent acquisition, retention, and development. The second one is internal education, culture, and policy. The third one, outreach, access to deal flow, and unconscious investment bias. And the fourth one is influence, external guidance, and portfolio management. Just to close my short, and we can discuss more in the comment section.
Cool. I hope you can join us in the open dialogue and have more time to discuss about venture capital and women entrepreneurs. Katerina, Steffi, thank you so much for sharing your insights, thoughts. If we don't hear opinions, if we don't hear point of view, we cannot understand, even not to make the correct questions. So I can understand what you said, and thanks for the insights. I keep a lot of from this conversation. Thank you so much. Let's move on. Catherine Riley, are you here with us? I'm not sure if do Panos Apostolis. Do you see Catherine in the panel?
Just a moment.
Apostolis,
It was stuck. Just a moment. She sent me a message.
Apostolis helped us a lot to plan and organize this event. Also behind backstage is Maria Kostadopoulos. Have to give her kudos for all the work that has done to organize this. Apostole TEDx, I cannot see how that could be in a web, but of course, everyone loves live that we can join and discuss together.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you so much. Okay. So let's give the stage to Catherine.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course, Catherine.
Yes.
So sorry for the delay. You know, the moment I pressed, the video join button, everything went completely blank. Anyway, that's what happens with technology. First of all, I'd like...
It's a conspiracy. It's happening to everyone.
It's a conspiracy. I was waiting on standby, for like an hour or so. And, the moment I pressed the join button, it just completely went blank. So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone who has attended this event. It's a huge honor to be with you today. I have to say that diversity inclusion is something that is on everyone's minds because we are trying to make the world better. And because of that, it is a huge privilege to be with you. Now, before we begin, I would also like to thank the U.S. Embassy because throughout my journey, my transition, the U.S. Embassy has been by my side and has helped me, complete my documents, my passport, and of course, made my life way easier. Okay, so without further ado, allow me.
The most important thing is to question what would you like to do and how I can help you doing and achieve that. That is something from my perspective.
Thank you.
As Apostolos.
Thank you. Well, I do want to start with Maria Anagностopoulos because we do have a beloved team with 7 female team. They are not inclusive, but they do a great job. So we try to make them more, to hire more men. Do you have any ideas how to handle it?
Well, in the past, I was the only female part of the group, only woman in the group. So, in the end, of course, we are always looking to be diverse members of the startup ecosystem. Really quickly to introduce myself, my name is Maria Gabriela Anagностopoulos. I'm project manager at Involve Entrepreneurship. We are one of the longest standing, let's say, startup support organizations in Greece, established in 2012 as Hellenic Entrepreneurship Award. We support startups through the provision of education resources and through other, let's say, resources from our award program. And we've traveled around Greece and around Europe. And, diversity is something that we always, kind of focus on because we are people. We're human beings full of biases that we either, let's say, inherited from either from our family, from our schools, university systems, work environments. And so we have to kind of battle these biases every day, either when you're hiring, either when you're offering support to startups. How many times have we seen startuppers with that don't concentrate on what they're wearing, their beards, and you say they're not professional enough, especially here in Greece, where image is key. And having let's say a more inclusive wording in Greek language is very difficult because Catherine, I think Catherine confirmed that, is the Greek language is very, let's say, heavy with the gender, let's say, words, oito. And with English, it's easy to be more inclusive, but in Greek, it's something that you struggle to kind of be more inclusive in wording. And this is something that, even when we're working on our website, we're reading the text and we're saying, are we inclusive enough? it's a struggle every day. But much has been done in the startup ecosystem. We've supported over 37 startups from 19 different sectors. Even in the startup industry, being open to startup ideas from different sectors is let's say, is a bias as well. We're used to hearing about startups in the tech industry and software, and you overlook some very important sectors that offer to the Greek economy. And we were very happy to share that over 42% of the businesses that we've supported are either led by women or in the, let's say, the core team amongst the co-founders are women as well. And this is something that, you don't get to see in the startup industry very often. I was recently working on a report for one of a new program that we're kind of working on, and they give you a persona of the average startupper here in Greece, and they say a male man, age I think 35 to 44. I'm like, okay, that's not me. I'm not part of their average persona, because that's how it is, unfortunately. And these are the biases that we have to kind of work all the time. And seeing myself as a woman in the business world, and my family are both in the private sector, C-level executives. And I had a lot of privilege growing up, right? And when I moved to Greece, that privilege, we kind of lost that, but we were able to build it very fastly. But what I see from other, let's say, support programs, I'm talking from the female perspective and women in business, sometimes some of these groups kind of are a little bit elitist. You have to be a paying, let's say, member of a group, or in order to access some female empowerment groups or professional women, you have to be a C-level executive already. And so there are a long ways to go to kind of promote and kind of support the different group of people in our society, in our businesses, and our economy. So that's really quickly what I had to say. Sorry for taking up much of your time.
Thanks, Maria. I spoke just 1 week before with Marina Kalogerakou. It's from the Genesis venture, a new venture. We heard a lot of women entrepreneurship and how they're biased in the venture world. Do you have any insight from your organization and the selection of the teams?
Hi, Nasos. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for this event. Thanks for hosting us, and thanks for organizing it. It's very insightful and good to have these events hosted in Greece. So yeah, I'm from Genesis Ventures. Just a quick one-liner for those of you who don't know, we are a new angel co-investment fund providing primarily seed and pre-seed capital up to 400K for Greek and non-Greek founders. Yeah, at the core of our investment thesis is actually the team and the founders. And in that, we are struggling and committed to finding women that are capable, that are dynamic and have a big vision. And that's why from our first investment cohort, just last year, we have 1 in 5 investments are co-led by women. A few examples are Diania Health. It's an AI algo startup in the US, which is by Irini Schlosser, co-founder. We have 3 more examples. Click to Therapy, for those who don't know, it's Aphrodite Kasparidi, Elena Stamo, Swaplanet, Tina Bulayorga is from Billy's. These are just a few examples. So, and also in our accelerator, we aim again to have at least 1 in 4 companies represented by women founders. These are just a few examples. It's also in our mandate from EAF to include metrics that track women hiring, empowerment, and cultural diversity in our portfolio companies. So yeah, we are doing our best to empower less represented sexes and people from different kinds of backgrounds within our organization.
Super, thank you. I would like to connect the dots here with Kelly Kusi and Olga Konstantakopoulou, because they both have done initiatives regarding to the previous step before entrepreneurship, because it's STEM is technology, it's training. I would like to give us your insights. Did you have a lot of participants? Do they want to hear to do tech? Do want to join us? Just tell us your experience.
Hi, everyone. If I'm going to start, my name is Olga Konstantakopoulou. I am a marketing and exports manager at my family company, Omega, which is the biggest rice and pulses company in Greece at the moment. In parallel, I do handle a lot of educational projects regarding tech and teaching STEM in women. So one of them is Code Girls, that is funded by the American Embassy in Greece and Mataroa NGO, where we teach women from a young age, aged actually 6 to 16 years old all over Greece. And we teach them STEM and initial programming languages. I am actually an alumna of the program where I was in high school in Kalamata, and this kind of was the seed where it got me to really dive into the world of entrepreneurship and establishing my own startup when I was in university. Ever since I joined the program as an instructor and as a mentor, we have helped more than 500 girls all over Greece. So the impact is quite huge. It has been one of the longest standing programs supported by the American Embassy in Greece. And we are really, really proud of this huge community of women that are in the program. In parallel, last year, we started the program Coding Bees, which is supported by google.org in Greece and Mataroa NGO again, where this amazing team, what we did is that we expanded our teaching and our traveling even further in Greece and expanding also our age range. So we have now digital skills classes in women that are aged, that are limitless. The age category is actually limitless. So my program and my class was actually in digital skills in Xanthi, which is one very remarkable kind of class I had before Christmas, where my target group, and this is where we talk about inclusivity and impact in minorities, was actually the main focus group was women from the Muslim minority, Pomaki, if you know, in kind of the Greek categorization of the group. So Pomaki is a Muslim minority where they live outside of Xanthi, the center of the city, and they came for 3 weekends with a bus, 1 hour and a half drive, in order to participate in those in the classes that we had. And you could see kind of the yearning of the women inside the program, and like the sparkle in their eyes. Most of them never graduated high school, and they continued their studies after they were 30 years old, and they were going to the second chance high school and then university in the afternoons while having their families. And you could see that they were looking for initiatives like this in order to continue connecting with one another in the first place, but also expanding their knowledge on practically the potential that they have in their lives. So their opportunities, we showed them there that the opportunities are limitless. So long story short, my favorite student was Miss Fatme. She was 57 years old and she had 7 grandchildren. So I was like one of her grandchildren over there, and she's one of my favorites. So I hope we'll be back. And truly, I think it all starts from education, whatever the age, is just giving the opportunity out there, spreading the word, and really is the basis for understanding the potential, and the opportunities are limitless. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Kelly.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having us here today. So I'll do just a brief introduction. My name is Kelly, and I'm a lecturer in the University of Surrey in the UK. And I'm also the Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Lead for the School of Chemistry and Chemical Engineering here. And I'm also the person that connects the university with the Women in Engineering Society in the UK. But here today, I am as one of the leading members from the Greek Women in STEM organization, which I really hope you've heard of us. I'm a chief editor and a website manager in this organization. I'm also a scientific writer and a mentor. So what we do is we have like three main routes, let's say, in Greek Women in STEM. One is science communication, because we think that everything is about education. So if you do science communication in a proper way, everyone, regardless of their age, will be able to understand and be interested in science. So that includes young children and young adults, maybe. Then the second thing that we do is we're trying to promote all these amazing Greek women in STEM anywhere there are in the world. So we try through interviews with them, either in our website or in our podcast, we try to promote the work that they do, because as someone said earlier, it's very, very important to have this representation, to have these role models, because people think that they don't exist or that we cannot do it, but we really can. And it's a very important thing to have these role models. And the last thing, and I think it's very, very important, is our mentoring. So we run a mentoring program. We have at the moment approximately 100 mentors throughout the globe in all of the STEM subjects, and we connect them with mentees. The mentees apply through our website, and we connect them depending on the expertise that they're looking for. I want to say that their mentorship program usually lasts a month. It's closely monitored by us, so that both the mentor and the mentee get the most out of this, and then we can renew the cycle if we want to, or if they want to, sorry. And I want to say that this program is very inclusive, and we're trying to make it as inclusive as possible. It doesn't matter of what you identify as. So it's run by Greek Women in STEM, but all of our mentors are both men and women. And the mentees can also be anything, really.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's go to the university point of view. I would like to ask for Mara Doukidi and Dora Trachana to connect the ASIN, the Athens University, that is a part of Connected with Unifund. I don't know if Dora is with us, but Mara, can you tell us more about the university initiatives, the ASIN? We see a lot of effort the previous week in your premises. Give us an overview, what's happening there?
Yeah, so hello, my name is Mara Doukidi. I'm a startup coach and consultant in ASIN. I'm also a creative and a marketeer. So ASIN is the incubator of our app, and but it's kind of run independently. So the university is just giving us its premises, but we're very connected with it because we have many different educational programs. So I think Ellie mentioned in the beginning that ASIN used to be 90% women. Right now we have more men. So out of the 17 professionals, 12 are still women. And I just wanted to say, I want to talk a little bit more about our incubator and our acceleration system, because the evaluation has changed. Like, gender has never been an issue with us, and that's kind of our mindset, and that's how we go. So right now, out of our 20 teams running our cycle, 12 of them have women co-founders. And I think most important is kind of to bring together different ecosystems around Greece, around Europe, and around the world. So the good thing about COVID is that everything turned digital. So right now we're continuing in a hybrid kind of system. So we have one team that's outside of Athens in Kalamata. And we also have 14 members of our teams that do not live in Athens. And also we have 4 different nationalities. So I think these are great numbers, and I don't just want to stay in the gender. I think we have to be open. And just because I'm a coach and a consultant, I would like to say that it's just women need a little bit more of empowerment. They need to believe more in themselves. And I think this is due to cultural, and I mean, everyone who's here is quite open, but like the biggest percentage of Greeks are still kind of very, very conservative out there. And
I was surprised to see that we are green, that we had a green color in the Catherine presentation. It was like, oh, wow.
So, yeah, I think through education, through universities, through schools, all human beings can learn to actually respect each other and have equal chances in their future and then professions. So that's for me.
Thank you. Thank you, Mara. I don't know if Dara hear us. She can jump on the conversation anytime. I would like to bring some guys' point of view. I want to hear from Thana Parasco and Hari Kalyara, because they do represent organizations that they have to do a lot with a lot of people. Thanos ran a big the startup universe. I don't know if he's here to tell us more. He asked for 2 minutes, so let's go to Hari. Hari, you represent a municipality, but regarding Greece, an innovative municipality.
Thank you, Nasos. Καλησπέρα, everyone. Thank you. But it's a great opportunity for me to present something that we try to make different in Trigala. Trigala is situated in the middle of Greece, and we are trying to do very innovative things. Of course, 20 years ago, if we go back to that good time, since we speak about diversity, mainly we focus to gender issues between men and women. Of course, the world is changing, and right now we have to confront total different terms regarding diversity and equality. For example, for us right now, it's a very crucial topic, diversity, because we are an open city, and we try to build the future, the city of tomorrow, but to not leave anyone behind in order to take all the advantages from technology. Of course, we're trying to make some different initiatives with the collaboration of our municipal development agency, Trigala. One of them was to establish an innovation hub just 2 years ago in order to host several startups from all over Greece and to demonstrate that they are solutions that correspond to the needs of cities. It's not very easy to have everything in a very good line inside during the daily life of the city. I'm not sure, but tomorrow it will be better than yesterday. But of course, we have to make our local action plans and local strategies in order to achieve some good things for the next generation. I think that we have to respect the necessities and the requirements of today in order to be more effective during tomorrow. That's from my side. It's really very nice to see young people with several industries try to motivate other people, some all over Europe, of course, Greece, in order to feel very safe in their cities. Thank you.
Thanks, Hari. I don't know if it was my connection. We couldn't hear you the best quality, but this is the time to say that we'll take this recording and I'll try to make subtitles and if possible to hand language. So I'll have to hear it again to understand the whole concept. But we have with us Dora Trajana and Thanos Parasos. They are people that they are in the startup ecosystem. I want to hear insights from the VC point of view, from the program of Thanos. The stage is yours.
So, would you like me or Dora to start?
Whoever is.
Please do, please.
The faster that unmutes is the most unequal thing that we can do in this session.
Okay, that's great. So let me start, and it's a pleasure actually to be here and to discuss about that topic in your event. I believe that we are on track, especially in Greece, but not only in Greece, in other ecosystems. In the world of startups, diversity is quite important and equality the same. This is something that can boost our ecosystems, and is something that we really care. Start running programs like Startup Universe, big programs that have supported more than 900 startups. The previous year, we supported 600 startups. Startup Universe is an open online program. So we care about giving opportunities to everybody, no matter the origin, no matter the color, no matter the gender. So we support everybody that would like to run the project, and it's on the early stages. So we have seen too many people that are joining, and we care about the humankind. Let me tell you about my second hand is on Founderhood. Founderhood is the all-in-one innovation management platform that's about to boost the progress of the humankind. And what we are doing, we are providing a platform to innovation managers, to people that are running programs in order to facilitate them and to run the programs more efficiently and make startups engage more. I cannot talk about genders, I cannot talk about races, I cannot talk about ages. I only can talk about the humankind, and this is something that we care. We care about the how we can continue to survive and to be on the earth, and the way to do that is to work together as humans. And let me pass the floor. Let me invite in the floor Dora. Dora is a friend of mine. Actually, we are both from Tripolis, and we have lived and let's say grew together. So Dora, the stage is floor. Thanks, Nasos.
Thanks, thanks, Tano. Dora, we started a conversation last week about VC women. If there is any bias, give us your insights from the VC point of view.
Great, thank you, Naso, for the invitation. Actually, Thanos and I were together at the school since primary school, so it's something like 25 years now or even more. And very happy that we are speaking here together. In our view, actually, there is a bias, a positive bias, to be honest, towards equality and inclusion in many aspects, women, the LGBTQ community, and we are always very transparent, and we try to support as more as we can. However, I have to admit that out of 23 companies that we have invested so far with Unifund, only 2 have active women co-founders. And it's a pity because it's only 10%, as you can imagine. And we try many times to find women in leading positions in the startup ecosystem, and it's still many things to be done there. So this is something that I want to underline, for example, as a fact. However, in terms of other employees and key executives, there you can find a higher balance, let's say, gender balance rate. That's a fact that I also have to mention as well. But in terms of founders, and I don't know why, I mean, I don't have that point, but still in terms of founders, there's a lack there. So I think this is a point that we need to support more.
Did you read the report of Marathon about compensation? It was really interesting. I invited San, she couldn't make it, but I did read the review. So to update all of you, the review says that more than 45% of the workers in startups are women. So we do see a lot of women in tech, not in founder position, but in tech general, perhaps not in the engineering because it's a demanded supply, but perhaps we do see roles in the industry.
Yeah, that's true. This is something that I also have to mention. Also, some of our portfolio companies are participating in this survey. So there are many employees, it's more than 40% or 50%, so it's quite balanced among the employees, but not among founders. This is the point. That's true.
Yeah. So if we do want to speak about women do business, so I want to ask Eri, what's the challenge? Because of course, I was super lucky because I have spoken with so many organizations that do similar things that you are trying to do. So I do see a lot of initiatives to empower, I don't like the word, but help perhaps or give incentives. What's your point of view, Eri, and what are the main challenges of women to actually found a company or start a business?
Thank you so much for your question. So hello from us too. Women Do Business, I'm co-founder. We have to say that we started our actions on May 2019 in Crete, in Heraklion of Crete. We have supported already over 1,700 women all over Greece, not only Crete, and 7 businesses have started with the support of Women Do Business. I would say the support is the more proper word for what we want to say here. So from what we have seen is the challenges are several, but there isn't always the economic or the finance as we think. Is through surveys in European level, national level, and Crete level, or in island level, or wherever you get local level. Is number 1 family obligations, number 2 at least for women, as we know, number 2 is lack of support from the environment, and then of course has to do with the restricted beliefs that we as women we have. And this, of course, has to do with the stereotypes that are cultivated since the day that we are born. And yes, of course, there are many things that are happening. We have the Me Too movement, we have new legislations, we have organizations that they are trying to support, to train, to inform, to empower women. Yes, because we need empowerment, even though. But we cannot overcome the fact that there is a gender pay gap still, that women's entrepreneurship in Greece is 24.5%, that in startup ecosystem, at least in US, only 2% of women receive funds, that women's unemployment is over 14%. So there are data that we cannot overcome. And of course, we have to do some things, everyone from our side, even if there are companies with policies, even if they're like panels like this one, and we have to take care the gender equality, or if they're the law system, or for me, everything starts from a younger age. So we have to just start to train our children, to train the parents, to inform, because, you know, usually we always talk from our side. So as women, we talk for our side, but you can find a woman that is not inclusive, either to disabled people or either to LGBTQI community, or you can find someone from LGBTQI community not be so inclusive to women. So we just have to understand that we're all equal, we're all the same, and we don't have something to separate from each other, you know. And then for me, the sad thing is the closest the community, the more local you are, the more stereotypes and the more restricted beliefs I'm seeing in like every day. The other day I was talking to my father and he was like, why you are doing, because I'm also a startupper, why you are doing this? Why you are not finding a good guy to have, to give a birth and to have a family, you know? This is the natural, more women here are laughing. Yeah, this is the natural role that we have to take, you know? Or yesterday, someone asked my partner, have you ever given birth to a child? If you haven't ever given birth to a child, you are not required to be here. So I don't know, there are some crazy things happening. I've seen stereotypes through my best friend, at least here in Greece, who is gay. So I know I said a lot, sorry for that. I'm really frustrated when I'm talking about that because I'm thinking all the things, everyday things. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have a last question, and before that, if anyone has a question, I do just the moderation because I don't see hands in the Zoom. So if I see a hand, of course I can pass. I have to ask. It will be a difficult question for me. I don't know if the answer is easy because we have seen a lot of stereotypes. Because we all the community transitioning from things that the previous generation thought it's not normal about perhaps the women in the society, and now we're transitioning in a fast way. Women organizations, which is sometimes that we feel that it's like activist organization. Do you feel it that way? Do you feel that there is a need for activist organization and just empowering organization is the same, or you have to just to put different hats all the time to defend? What are you trying to do? I don't know if you understand
Yes, I understood.
Okay.
Thank you for your question. Definitely, we're activists also. Definitely, we're feminists, because sometimes there is also a taboo about this word, yes. But we have to realize that when we are talking about activism or when we're talking about feminism, we're just asking for equal rights. We're not just showing off, or we're not saying we're better. We just want to be equal. And of course, we need all the forms in order to succeed what we need. So sometimes we need to have advocacy, sometimes we need to have train, sometimes we need to have campaigns, but all this combined, we succeed what we need in order to be equal. Thank you.
Okay, next one will be Kelly, and then we're running out of time. Of course, we can stay a little longer, but I would like to, after Kelly, I would like everyone that hears us just put the camera on to make a screenshot all together, and perhaps some of the speakers may have a closing point and conclude this this session. Is almost not almost, more than 3 hours and 30 minutes. So I would like to leave you be. Kelly, you.
The only thing I want to say here is that I love the use of the word equity that you used so successfully in this one as compared to equality, because I don't think we are the same, because if we were the same, that would be a problem. Right? So we just need to think about the different tools we need to give different people to flourish and give you the most that they can. So I think if we think about like with equity in mind and not equality, maybe that's how we will move forward.
Thank you, Kelly. Kuzehan, Guts, Erika, Any closing remarks? And I would love to thank you again for staying so in almost all the panel. I want a closing remark from each one of you, if you like. Catherine Adams, sorry. So I give the speech as I see you. Kuzehan.
It is too late already in Greece. We are now coming, and I would like to thank you all of you. And it was very incredible session listening all of you and really seeing such a diversity here, and everybody's trying to include each other. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and good night.
Thank you so much. Good.
Yeah, thank you, Nasos. It was great being here with all of those wonderful panelists. Just a quick note. I mean, we can be much more productive when we are diverse, right? So I think we all need to collaborate to create even more awareness, to be more diverse and inclusive, of course. As I noted when I was presenting, diversity without inclusion does not really mean anything, actually even worse, because bring in all those different people from all around and then not being inclusive, I don't know, this is not what we want to do, right? So please reach out, let's collaborate, okay? Starting with here in this global ecosystem right here. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Erica, I hope that so many organizations will start to use the Matheson platform. I hope to see some logins from Greece.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us today. We were really excited to participate. I know that you mentioned earlier, but I just wanted to share again that if you do go to our website, matheson.io, there's a lot of free resources on there. So even for startups who aren't quite ready to jump on a full platform, there are tons of great free resources on there. We also host a live event, usually about once a month, on varying topics in the DEI space. So if you're interested in continuing these conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially in the tech space, definitely want to invite you to join those. They're always great, different topics. It could be pay equity, it could be equitable hiring, it could be ERGs. So all kinds of cool topics on there that we would love for y'all to join. And of course, I'd love to connect with anybody from here, from the panel, or from the participants on LinkedIn. Find me, reach out. And if you want to talk more about DEI tech, I love it. I love to geek out on it. So connect with me and let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Nasos. Well, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who attended this wonderful event. Congratulations to all the organizers. And I would like to sign off by saying, please respect your coworkers and try to promote diversity and inclusion as much as possible. I know that it's become something of a trend lately, but believe me, I do not want anyone from the LGBTQI community to go through what I have been through. And feel free, everyone, to contact me if you ever need a speaker, someone to train your staff, because what I did today was a really, really small sample of the training I usually do. So wishing everyone the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Last but not least, Adam.
Hey, thank you, Nasos. Appreciate the invitation. I learned a ton about what you all are doing in Greece today, and hopefully we shared a little bit about how myself, what we're doing in Baltimore, but also what Techstars can do. So always happy to collaborate. If there's any way that we can benefit what you guys are doing over there, happy to just add to it in any way we can. Really excited to also keep you all involved in what we're doing here in Baltimore too. So let's connect. I think my LinkedIn is on the chat. If not, I'll put it in there after I speak. And
I'll do as a good moderator. I'll make a report of everyone that participated. Perfect. I'll give all the links. I'll make it accessible. We have made Apostolis made a nice site. We'll put content. This is a project that started and it started a few months. It ends with this event, but it's not I don't do anything just to do a project. I do want to continue and build a community around it, even only with resources. So, of course, everything will be public, available. I do hope I will use resources from Matheson, put links from Techstars, from all the speakers, from other organizations. If you don't see your logo, please upload it. I'll try. I try to be as open as possible. You know it. Any final words, Apostolis? And let's close it. And thanks everyone for being here.
Great.
My final words is like communicate with everybody. Everyone is unique, so find what you should say to each other and find the solution all together.
So next TEDx, Ayan Argiri, when it's going to be?
It's going to be on 17th of September 2023 on Maria Elena, the Center of Arts. And you're all welcome to come and see our new event.
Super. Maria Constantino is still on the back office. I don't know if she can hear us to put the camera and just wave because it's in a crowded surroundings, but thank her too. I do thank all of you to attend here. Thank you so much. It was great. Just I want you to smile for me because I want to take a photo of you. So say, I don't know what you say everything you do in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the way I can make you smile. It was a TikTok, it failed. So thank you so much. That's all. Good night and have a nice week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Great
Bye.
meeting
Bye.
you all.
Thank you. Bye.